Spain's sunny capital is known for being the home of a club that is often named the world's most valuable football club, but they're not the only team in town, I assure you. So let's check out the stadiums and arenas of Madrid, Spain. Estadio de Villahermosa. Although this stadium was technically opened in 1961, all but a small section of the entrance were demolished in the late 2000s. And after the site was left empty for 9 years, they started rebuilding it in 2017, finally completing it 2 years later. So it is very new, and when you combine that with the unusual light green running track and the perfectly white seats and roof, it almost looks as though we're looking at a rendering rather than an actual photo. But it's not. I do like that burgundy coloured running tracks are becoming less common. Nothing against burgundy, it's just that variety is the spice of life. Same goes for stadiums. Las Ventas. With a capacity of a little under 24,000, this is the largest bull ring in Spain. I know I say this every time a bull ring is mentioned, but I really don't like bullfighting. However, this is one of the most beautiful sports venues you're likely to see. The ceramic tile-clad exterior in particular. The construction of this building was only made possible because the Jardón family ceded some of their land to the city. So the Jardóns were responsible for this arena's conception. Praise be to the Jardóns. Something about that didn't sound right. Civitas Metropolitano. This has one of the more unusual origin stories amongst Europe's major football stadiums. The original stadium was built as part of a failed bid for Madrid to host the 1997 World Athletics Championships. That stadium was nicknamed La Peineta, the Comb, because the one and only stand kinda looked like a large concrete hair comb. That stadium was not really put to good use until Atletico Madrid came along and decided to turn this site into their new home. And as you can see, rather than demolishing the comb, they have incorporated it into the new stadium. I always love to see that. It gives this place a bit of character, which is so often not the case with new stadium builds. This has got to be one of my favourite stadiums in Europe, and thus the world. Madrid Arena. Most of the stadiums and arenas in this city seem to be architecturally distinct from one another, which is obviously no bad thing. This one has a mostly glass facade, with some exposed concrete here and there. It was built with the Olympics in mind, but unlike their Barcelonan cousins, Madrid has yet to host the Olympics. Someone has to tell the local government to wait until after they're actually chosen as the hosts before building the venues. Interestingly, all of the seating in here can completely retract, and then it looks like a different place entirely. In its early days, Madrid Arena hosted the Madrid Masters, but that has since been moved to Caja Mágica. Translated into English, that means the magic box. It cost a staggering 294 million euros to build, which was nearly 3 times the initial budget. They may not have got their money's worth, but what this place has that Madrid Arena doesn't is, firstly, there are actually 3 courts within the same building. 3 courts for the price of 3. All 3 of those courts have a retractable roof, which is basically a must-have feature for major tennis tournaments these days. Because tennis is really an outdoor sport, you don't want a permanent roof, but you also can't play tennis in the rain. Oh, maybe that's why it's called the magic box, because it makes the sky disappear. Estadio Nacional Complutense. This is a rugby ground. Now, you might necessarily associate Spain with rugby, but they clearly love it as the de facto home of Spanish rugby gives you 2 fields for the price of 1. The eastern field in particular actually seems like a nice place to watch a game. I don't think it's changed that much since it opened in 1943. proper seating is few and far between, or non-existent. It's more like you're sitting in a park than a stadium. It's even bordered by hedges. Hopefully they never install an artificial turf field here. It would ruin the vibe. Palacio Vistalegre looks like a flying saucer. From above anyway. From street level though, you can tell it's not going to be taking off into space anytime soon. You might be wondering why in the name of Jesus are there bull statues out front? Well, this arena was built on the side of a bull ring, and initially it was itself going to be a bull ring. Surely one of the only air-conditioned bull rings out there. And to be fair, it did actually host some bullfights early on. But the calendar has since been overtaken by other, less gruesome sports, and it stopped hosting bullfights in 2002. Which is good because there's just something not right about air-conditioned bullfighting.
This is the 21st century. We demand to be cool and comfortable whilst watching the bull get stabbed.
Don't know what that was. Estadio Santiago Bernabeu, the home of Real Madrid, is fresh off a major redevelopment. So fresh that you can still see the cranes in these shots. That's better. As you can see, the new metallic exterior made from sheets of stainless steel is a stark contrast to the mostly bare concrete facade of the old days. The stadium also gained a retractable roof, which lets in plenty of light even when it's closed, as well as a retractable grass field. The field can be stowed away underneath the stadium floor so that the stadium can host concerts and whatnot, without damaging the precious grass. Another remarkable feature is the wraparound video board up top, which was the first of its kind in Europe. There are also these separate video boards for those sitting in the nosebleeds who wouldn't get a view of the wraparound board. Real does mean royal, and this stadium is certainly fit for reality. Real Madrid's reserve team and women's team don't get to play at the previous stadium, but Estadio Alfredo Di Stefano isn't too bad at all. In certain countries, some top-tier clubs would jump at the chance to have this stadium as their main stadium. Speaking of which, whilst their actual home was being rebuilt, the first team also played here. It happened to coincide with the pandemic, so that was actually serendipitous timing for them. I like the grass embankment at each end. You don't see that all too often at European football grounds. Probably for safety reasons, we don't want to see a landslide of ultras. Wizink Center. Like a couple of the venues we've seen so far, this was built on the side of a previous arena. That place actually burnt down. Well, perhaps it's more accurate to say that it was fire damaged, because as you can see, plenty of the previous building was retained, which is good because it looks great. It looks equally good, if not better, on the inside. And, importantly, there's plenty of concrete, so I don't think it's going to go up in flames anytime soon. Knock on concrete. That was wood. A third of the capacity here is made up of retractable seating, which mightn't be as much as the one we saw earlier, but this stand is actually the world's largest telescopic stand. Or at least it was when it was built. Perhaps it's been bested, I don't know. It's 55 meters long for those that care about telescopic stand lengths. Campo de Fútbol de Vallecas. This place is deeply entrenched amongst the neighborhood of Puente de Vallecas, meaning there are plenty of apartments that must have a spectacular view of the field. But I feel bad for those that have their view blocked by this advertising here, especially if they just woke up one morning and noticed they can no longer see the field. Damn, capitalism blocks my view. This stadium had to be temporarily closed in 2018 until improvements to the safety could be made. Since it's owned by the government, it was actually the government reprimanding itself for not adhering to the government regulations. Weirdly, situated in the basement of the stadium is the Chess Federation of Madrid. First there was Basement Jacks, now Basement Chess. Where's your head at? Where's your head at? Estadio Coliseum. Maybe some people from Getafe watching this video don't consider their city to be part of Madrid, but where I'm from it would be considered an outer suburb or satellite suburb. It's the Pakenham of Madrid, that's what they call it actually. Joking aside, this stadium was up until last year named Coliseum Alfonso Perez. But Alfonso Perez said some stuff about women's football. It was nothing too horrendous, but I can kinda understand why they'd rename it, considering that it's a government-owned building. Anyway, I do quite like this stadium, particularly how two of the stands are built into the hill. One downside is that on days like these, you'll see a lot of umbrellas. Polideportivo Municipal Príncipes de Asturias. This is yet another arena, but once more it has a unique design. It is just a small venue that could have been boring with it, but it's a beautiful bit of architecture, inside and out. Especially considering that it's one of those arenas that is hired out to the public, rather than being the permanent home of a professional sports team. And it's in Pinto, which is a small town, even further away than Getafe. And those were the stadiums of Madrid. Mucho bueno estadios. Gracias for watching. Have a good one.